Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing an album review. This one was requested by Dutch Vinyl Freak. He asked me to go over this album by Pink Floyd. It is The Wall. So in this video I will show you my vinyl copy and the CD and then go over all of the tracks giving a score for each song, which will then give us a full total percentage for the album. This was the band's 11th studio album, released on the 30th of November in 1979. The album is Pink Floyd's most ambitious album. It tells the story of a character called Pink who struggles throughout his youth with the death of his father in the Second World War, abusive teachers, and an overprotective mother. This leads Pink to create a metaphorical wall around him and isolating himself from the rest of the world. The idea of this album was the brainchild of the bassist Roger Waters. He got the idea from Pink Floyd's 1977 tour, which was called In The Flesh, basically where he spat at a member of the audience who was frustrating him or annoying him or something like that. Which was a consequence of Pink Floyd's success. They were playing bigger stadiums and people weren't really there to listen to the music. They were just sort of there to go and see this big live act. So this did cause frustration among the band, and not only Waters but Gilmour also refused to play the encore on some nights off the tour. Making of the album was problematic for the band. The keyboardist Richard Wright left during the making of it, and it grew on Roger Waters' dominance on the band. The album Animals, I believe he wrote all the songs on that, but that was still very much a band album. It wouldn't be the same without David Gilmour or Richard Wright or Nick Mason. Whereas on this one here, it was certainly more Roger Waters and a sort of a load of backing musicians is the sense I got from this. His main creative partner on this album was the producer Bob Ezrin, I think that's how you say his name. He was basically brought in to effectively turn Roger Waters' ideas into reality, but they later fell out over Roger Waters not giving him any writing credit on this album at all. I believe he's credited for writing one song, when in reality he really had much bigger input into this album. The album was a massive commercial hit, hit number one pretty much everywhere, and it's actually the third most certified album in America. However, though, this is probably because it's a double album, and the way they count albums, they count the two discs as two separate albums. Not really entirely fair, but if you go by the statistics, this is the third biggest selling album in America. Now I'm just going to show you my copies of the album. I have the CD here. If I'm being honest, I don't really know why I have the CD. I'm not sure if it was a Christmas present 1 year or something, but it's certainly not an album what I play regularly on CD. As I will explain a bit later in this video when I go over each of the songs. This copy here comes with a little booklet here, which basically just features the artwork and the lyrics, basically just what you get the inner sleeves with the album. And this is the Experience Edition, I believe they call it, and they put on an extra disc of demos and stuff, which if I'm being frankly honest, I have never listened to, and I don't really have much interest in hearing them. Although it's slightly more interesting, just plain bricks on it, and then inside here is the gatefold. And then this of course is a double album, as we all know, so we get one of the vinyls here. I'll just show the one vinyl. The labels are very, very similar, and they just have the different characters from the album on each side of the record, so that's sort of what the records look like. The inner sleeves here are very plain, writing sort of supposed to look like graffiti, very, very hard to read. This copy also came with a download card here, what I have not used, and I probably never will. So if you want to get a free copy of The Wall, here's your chance. There's the code to it there. And you also get a poster with this album as well. It's basically just the lyrics to the album, just sort of all folds out and has the lyrics to it. But no idea why anyone would want to stick this on their wall, but it's cool that they chucked it in though. Right, so now I'm just going to go over the album, giving each song a score out of 10, and then also a couple of comments about my opinion on each of the tracks. It opens up with a song called In The Flesh. Now I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. They couldn't have picked a better opener for the album, like in my opinion. This is a great song. It's really like energetic, great like rocking riff, and like engaging lyrics as well. This sort of like starts with the album and then like goes to like a flashback. Like this sounds like it's at like a live sort of concert thing, and like then like sort of like goes to like a flashback, like it's like when like he's like really like a young child. It is a great way to start the album, and like I am very fond of this track. Right, next song up is called The Thin Ice. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. This is a really nice song. David Gilmour sings this one actually, like instead of like the usual Roger Waters, who like I think David Gilmour is like a much better singer, much smoother, much more pleasant to listen to like his vocals, and like it's a really nice start. But then like Waters then like starts like singing like a bit later on, sort of like Pink's like an infant like on this one here. Like it's a nice track, I think. Then we get part 1 of Another Brick in the Wall, giving this a 7 out of 10. This is a much slower version of like the classic hit Where Everybody Knows. Slightly different lyrics to this one though, like it's sort of like Pink like reflecting like on like the death of his father in like the Second World War. I would say though like maybe this one here like it's like a little bit drawn out and like maybe gets into like a bit of like noodling like towards the end of it, like just like guitar playing like without like really like going anywhere. Like it's like quite like a long song, about 4 minutes long. Does go on for far too long, I feel. Then we have The Happiest Days of Our Lives, also giving this a 7 out of 10. This is very much like an introduction to like the next song, which is part 2 of Another Brick in the Wall. In this song, the character of Pink is like reflecting like on his school days, and also like Roger Waters, like I said, that like it's sort of like about like his like experience like in like education as well. Like, it's a good decent track, but like for me, it's not one what I would ever play like in like isolation like off this album like by itself. Like it would always like I'd only ever play this song like when I'm listening to like this album like as a whole. Next song up is Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. Now I am sure that everyone will know this song. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. It is Pink Floyd's biggest chart hit. It was actually the Christmas #1 in 1979. The song itself is like very simple. Like it's just like the same sort of like verse like repeated twice, the same sort of like verse and chorus repeated twice, and like it has like the school children singing on it as well. For me, the reason why like I'm marking this down is like it has been like overplayed, this song, too much like exposure, I feel. Like it's a decent song and like has like a lovely like guitar solo like at the end of it, but like for me, overheard it and like it's like got like too much like exposure like over the years to still sound fresh.
Mother, do you think she's good enough?
Right, next song up is called Mother, and I really like this song, giving it a 9 out of 10 as well. It's a much softer acoustic number, very similar to Wish You Were Here. Like I believe like they're like it's like the same chord sequence, and like they're being in like a very sort of similar style. They are like kind of like similar songs. Like I always get like the feeling that like they were trying to like repeat the formula like of Wish You Were Here. But like then it does pick up like halfway through. We get a soaring guitar solo from Gilmour. And it's like one of like, the strongest songs like on the album for me. Opening up side 2, we have song Goodbye Blue Sky. Giving this a 7 out of 10. I really like the vocal harmonies on this one. Sounds really nice, like the singing on this. Honestly, there isn't much to this song. It's like there's not much in the way like lyrics or like a melody. It just sort of is like a little bit of like music, just sort of like the vocal sort of sound on it, and like some lyrics I think on it. Overall, it's decent, but like there's not much to it. Right, now the next song up for me is the first clunker on this album. It is a track called Empty Spaces, giving this a 3 out of 10. Now I know what people will say, like they'll say you shouldn't really like look at like Pink Floyd's albums or like this album as like individual songs. Like you should take it like as like the whole product, like for what it is. But for me, if the individual components, like if like the individual songs like aren't like any good, then like the whole album does suffer. Or like if like there's like a lot of like tracks that like aren't very good, then like the whole album like it does suffer and like isn't very good like at the end of it. And like this one for me is just a waste of time. It's a pointless filler track, and like supposedly like when like you play it backwards, like it contains like some backwards message about like Sid Barrett or something like that. It's just like not my thing, this, and like it doesn't do like anything like on like the album for me. Next song is called Young Lost, giving this a 8 out of 10. This is a very, very good, decent, rockin', bluesy song. Got like David Gilmour singing this one as well, which is great. Nice production on it. But again, at this point off the story, Pink is now like a touring musician. Like he's become like sort of like a rock star, and like he's sort of like trying to get with girls and stuff like that. Like overall, like I do really like the style of the song, and like the lyrics are pretty good as well. Next song up on the album is called One of My Turns. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Basically, at this point, like in the story, Pink has brought home a groupie, but like he's thinking about like the breakdown like of his marriage. Like it's like a slower song for like the first 2 minutes. You sort of get like the spoken word, like oh my god, are all these your guitars, stuff like that, at like the start of it. But then like it sort of then explodes into like a burst of rage, like as Pink like starts destroying like the hotel room. Waters really puts in like 100% like on like the vocals of this one here, and like yes, it does sound strained, but like I do think that like his sort of like kind of bad vocal quality does like help like these are like angrier songs and like more like angsty songs. Like he really gets like across like an angry like emotion like when he's singing like these songs here. So overall, like I do really like this track for the most part. Next one up is called Don't Leave Me Now. 4 out of 10 for me. This isn't great. It's a much slower song, doesn't develop, doesn't change, goes on for about 4 minutes, and it's just boring for me. I'd say this song is like it's listenable, but it's just not very interesting, and like yeah, like doesn't do much for me at all. We get part 3 off Another Brick in the Wall, giving this an 8 out of 10. This is a much faster, much more like aggressive song. Very, very short though, but like effective, I think. I think like this one here, like again, it's like angry and like sort of has like rage in it. And like I do like this song quite a bit. And the Goodbye Cruel World ends the first disc of this album. This would be a 5 out of 10. It's very, very short song. Quite difficult to like even like rate this track here, because it's not really like a song at all. Now they don't do too much for me, but it hardly like hurts the album. Right, so now we are moving on to side 3 of the vinyl and disc 2 of the CD, opening up with Hey You. 10 out of 10, classic Floyd on this track here. This is on the Greatest Hits album, A Foot in the Door, and like understandably so, because it is a fantastic song. Going like this song here, like Pink is now desperate for like outside contact, and like there's basically like no one there. That's how like we get into like, the next track.
Is there anybody out there?
Is there anybody out there? 4 out of 10 for me. Overall, like as a song, it is again pointless filler. It is hardly one like I would ever consider playing outside of like listening to this album. But it does have some nice guitar work like towards the end of this track here. But overall, it isn't very good. Then we get one of my personal favourites from the album, and one of like the more like underrated songs, a song called Nobody Home. This is a great slower piano ballad. The lyrics for this one though are like quite interesting, and like sort of like some people like I've said that like they are like about like Sid Barrett and like his decline. Like also like on this song like we hear like a TV like in like the background that like the character like is like supposed to be watching TV, but like his mind is going off like on somewhere else. It really like adds like a nice effect to it, and like Waters' vocals like do like give this song like a slight like emotional edge as well. This was also reportedly like the last song written for the album, and like one of like David Gilmour's favourites, and like one of my favourites as well. Like I think it's like a cracking song. And then we get another crap track, a song called Vera. 2 out of 10. Pointless song. The sense like I get from this one here, like Pink is like finding like frustration, like about like the death of like his father in like like in like the Second World War, and like sort of like sort of saying Vera Lynn, of course, like she'd been like the famous singer, sort of saying like what have like you done, and like sort of blaming it on her or something like that. It just doesn't do like anything for me, this song. And then, if you thought it could get much worse than it does, a song called Bring the Boys Back Home. 1 out of 10. Awful, awful song. It is just pointless, does nothing for me. Like, it's short though, like I'll give it that, but it does absolutely nothing to develop the album. It's just annoying.
There is no pain, you are receding.
And then thank God the album, or like this side does like redeem itself. Like at the end we get the absolute classic song Comfortably Numb. An easy 10 out of 10 for me. This is an absolutely fantastic song, got great lyrics, and like really like a great like collaboration between like David Gilmour and Roger Waters. Like this was like I think like the last song, but like they really like worked on together to make fantastic. Like, and then like also like at the end of this we get what I consider one of the greatest guitar solos ever, probably the greatest. David Gilmour's out at the end of Comfortably Numb is just fantastic. Fantastic sound, and like overall like as like a song is just amazing. Whereas now we are on to the final side. Opens up with a song called The Show Must Go On. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. It's nice enough. David Gilmour sings it again, which is nice, and like nice like harmonies like on this as well. Little quick facts as well. The Beach Boys were supposed to like actually like appear like on like this song, but decided to pull out like at the last minute. For me, the song is okay. It's nothing much, but again, it doesn't. It's not like unlistenable, and like it doesn't like really like hurt the album too much. Right, and then we get another song called In The Flesh. This is sort of like a reprise of like the first track, but for me it's like a much more inferior version. Pink is now a rock star, like he's on stage, and like the drugs like he took and like Comfortably Numb are now like messing like with his mind. He thinks he's like a fascist dictator, and like he's sort of like saying to people like in the audience, oh like you're gay, like you're like a Jew and stuff like that. It just gets far too complicated, like this album, like at this point, and like far too sort of I don't say serious, but like just a bit like what's going on here? Why? What's happened now and like stuff like that. It's a bit like this is where like I sort of get lost like with this album. Like, and then we get like one like the more decent ones from the album, a song called Run Like Hell. Again, like we're staying like out like the concert, opens up with that fantastic guitar riff, although like for me like when I was listening to this like on vinyl, it did sound like a little bit flat, like I much prefer like the live versions, like what like you hear like David Gilmour doing. The lyrics for this one though, like again are like threatening like towards the audience. Like I really like don't like pay like too much like attention to like the lyrics version here. Like the actual like music track is like very good indeed. Then we get Waiting on the Worms, a 5 out of 10. Nothing much, but for me it's not as bad as like some of like the other stuff like on this side, as I will soon get onto. And like there's some nice bits of like this song here. Like this is like one of like the longer ones from the album. I believe it's about 4 to 5 minutes long. David Gilmour sings most of this one here, and like that like improves it like a little bit. But like for me like it's not spectacular, and like it just sort of like meanders on like a little bit too long. There we get the song Stop. This is a 2 out of 10. Again, another pointless filler track. This is the point like where like Pink like realizes that like all like this like big sort of like show and like being like a fascist dictator is all like a load of like bollocks. Taken like as itself, this song is just stupid and like pointless. But like it does sort of like work like at the end, like waiting like on like the worms, and like that song becomes like too big and like too loud almost. This song here just sort of says stop, and then like it's like a nice wee like piano song. But like yeah, like as it is, it's only about 30 seconds long, and it's just not very good.
Showing feelings of an almost human nature.
Then we get The Trial, a 1 out of 10 for me. Easily the worst one on the album. This is a spoken word song here, never good, quite like theatrical and like sort of like not like really like music at all. It's just more like a sort of like a play, but like the saying like out loud. Most of the time this song here is like just like awful and like almost like unlistenable, I'd say. Like I get it, like it's supposed to be like dramatic and like the big end like to the album, so like everyone shouting tear down the wall and stuff like that. That again like conclusive to the album, like with all like characters we've seen, well like the teacher and like his mother and like that, like all like coming like back in like to the album and like sort of like trying to like wrap up the album, but it just doesn't do anything for me, this song. And then the closer is called Outside the Wall, a poor closer, 3 out of 10 for like a rather inconsistent and messy album. This song here is just doesn't do like anything for me. It's very sort of quiet like ending to the album, and like yeah, it just sort of ends just like on like a rather dull note. Right, so overall this album would have a score of 60%. This would have been a much better album, I feel, had it been a single album maybe, and like also if like the story and concept had like been like much simpler, because like you find that like I do generally like enjoy the first 2 sides of this album, like I think are pretty good, and like side 3 has like some cracking songs on it as well, but side 4 where like it gets like into like that fascist dictator nonsense and like the whole trial bit, where like the album really comes down in like quality for me. Because like if like I was actually like to get like a percentage like for each side of this album, side 1 would be 82%, side 2 and 3 would be 60%, and like side 4 41%. So you can just see like a steady decline in like musical quality like on this album. Right, now, as a general rule for me, I personally don't like concept albums, and most of the time musical quality is overridden by like trying to get like a storyline in, or like create like themes and like moods and that. The only sort of like proper concept album, like proper story album, what I actually do like and like I think is like really like of like a high standard, is the Who's Quadrophenia, because it's a believable story set in like real times. Whereas this one here, like, is just like set in like some troubled person's mind. Like, it's very hard to relate to this album, like in many ways. So yeah, like I hope you have enjoyed this review. I know it has been like a very long one for this album here, 26 tracks, mammoth album this, very ambitious and like almost like too big for its boots, I'd say. And like I know this might be like a controversial review, because I know that like a lot of people really like highly rate this album, but for me it's just very inconsistent. That like and like yeah, there are some fantastic moments on it, but like for me it's just like let down by like far too many pointless filler songs. So I hope you have enjoyed this review. If you'd like to see like any other albums reviewed, please leave them in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.